History books have been rewritten dozens of times, so what can we really trust? Well, how about military artifacts dug up by ordinary people like you and me, or historical treasures that Mother Nature literally throws back into the world? We're so close to solving the mystery that we just can't wait any longer. The last thing you would expect to find at the bottom of a river is two Confederate Brooke rifle cannons, 11.8 and 12.25 feet each, along with one captured Union Dahlgren cannon, 8.9 feet. They came from a Macon-class gunboat built to patrol the waterways and protect the coast during the Civil War. Renovations have a strange way of opening doors to the past. While working in the basement of an ordinary store, builders discovered a hidden cache of old German bayonets. This aircraft graveyard in China stayed so secret for so long that only Indiana Jones could have found it. Dozens of old Chinese and Soviet aircraft, including J-6s, J-7s, MiG-19s, and AN-2s, are buried deep in the forests of Guangzhou. Nature has almost completely taken them back, and soon these planes may be nothing more than a memory. But thanks to us, you get to see this place without flying all the way to China. Subscribe so you don't miss more mysterious discoveries and hidden locations. Someone must have completed Stalker on the hardest difficulty to unlock this location. Hidden near Chisinau are 12 underground levels of a secret nuclear command center, and even today, not everyone would be brave enough to venture inside. Imagine spending $15 million on a yacht, only for it to become someone's lucky find in the middle of a sandy beach. How much do you think it costs to call a tow truck after a botched parking job like that? This tank served for less than a week during the Six-Day War, and now it's been resting for 60 years with a view of the Golan Heights. I'd say that counts as retirement. Imagine that your grandmother spent her whole life telling you about a church bell from 1908 hidden away in 1942 so the Nazis couldn't melt it down for ammunition. Most people would have written it off as a family legend, but 77 years later, one man actually found the bell under the floor of a church. It turns out Grandma's stories are more reliable than historical archives. These people have found a Honda motorcycle inside an old shipping container at a junkyard. But I wouldn't start celebrating just yet. Its owner may simply be saving money on garage space. When these archaeologists started digging on a beach in Normandy, they were expecting, at most, a piece of an old shipwreck. Instead, they uncovered a massive shell from World War II. It looks like this coastline is still haunted by the memory of D-Day. The ground can hold more stories than any museum. Take this army bayonet, for instance, which spent 80 years buried in the dirt before someone happened to find it with a metal detector. It's not every day you find a 72-million-year-old 5-meter dinosaur tail. And it's so well preserved, it looks like someone stored it inside a giant freezer. Sometimes storms are the best archaeologists. This one in particular uncovered a 1,700-year-old Roman statue from the sand on a beach in Israel. And yes, it was missing its head. Really makes you wonder why ancient statues always seem to lose something. Someone set up an ammunition depot in the forest a long time ago and then apparently just forgot about it. 97 shells have already been defused, but where they came from is still a mystery. It looks like someone just hit the jackpot, even though these bills look like they came straight out of an ATM. Isn't that all a little too perfect? Could this whole thing have just been staged? It sounds like the plot of a Netflix crime series. Cash collectors stage an attack on themselves and hide the stolen $145,000 in their own yard. Did they really think the police would never think to look there? These guys went into the mountains looking for Bigfoot, but somehow found something even bigger. How does a whole abandoned dragline just get left behind? Even Bigfoot would have been confused by this thing. After a dam was built, this church in Brazil nearly disappeared beneath the water. Now it attracts tourists hoping to catch a glimpse of the local Atlantis. These Pakistani men found the fish before they even dug the pond. Workers uncovered 27 mortar shells believed to date back to the 1971 India-Pakistan War after they had been sitting underground for about 50 years. A helicopter used by criminals for illegal gold mining was discovered deep in the Brazilian jungle, and it received a finale worthy of a full-blown action movie. The owner of this chest clearly didn't trust banks. For years, he kept filling it with silver bars until he had collected 19,400 of them, more than 1,200 pounds. If you do the math, that comes out to about $417,000, give or take. Like this video if you approve of that kind of financial cushion. Right now, you're looking at what was left inside an abandoned Cold War-era ammunition factory. Apparently, these weapons were hidden a little too well on the lower level of the bunker. Drought is never good, but sometimes it's what brings lost history back to the surface. When the Mississippi River hit record low levels, the 40-meter Brook Hill Ferry reappeared from the water after sinking during a storm all the way back in 1896. More than 80 years have passed, but the echoes of Pearl Harbor are still hiding across the islands. This Japanese cannon was accidentally uncovered in the overgrowth after a typhoon. While digging, a man thought he had hit some kind of strange root. Instead, it turned out to be a wad of bills worth $2,000 at the time, which is nearly $40,000 today when adjusted for inflation. Not a bad little deposit from some forgetful grandpa. A 7-year-old girl found a school ring in a lake 39 years after it was lost, and thanks to social media, her mother tracked down the owner in just a matter of hours. But sadly, he had already passed away. Still, after all those years, the family heirloom finally made it back to his loved ones. As kids, we were told that genies lived inside ancient lamps. Well, this one was packed to the brim with ancient coins instead. The chances of finding a Heinkel He-115 were incredibly slim, but apparently not zero. The Norwegian Sea kept this rare aircraft hidden on the seabed for more than 70 years before finally returning it to the world. This beach basically turned into a time machine when it hit low tide. First, an ancient forest appeared from beneath the sand. Then, not far off, an airplane engine from World War II was discovered. You can't exactly misplace a B-52 bomber the size of an 8-story building, and yet somehow one ended up seemingly forgotten in the middle of the desert. What should you do if a mysterious metal cylinder washes up on the beach? Well, call the FBI, of course. In the end, the explanation was surprisingly simple. It was half of a pontoon boat used by Cuban migrants to reach the United States a year earlier. Although, let's be honest, even if it had been a UFO, they probably wouldn't tell us anyway. These operatives weren't out in the forest picking mushrooms or berries. No, they were collecting more than 300 artillery shells and grenades. Thankfully, all of this 80-year-old ordnance had already been defused. Want to see where airplanes go to retire? Military aircraft have been rusting away for decades here at the abandoned Predonac Air Base. However, some of them have still found a second life in rescue service training. If your neighbor is a little too protective of his garden, it might not be about the tomatoes. Ukraine's largest ammunition cache was found in this man's yard. Hundreds of grenades, grenade launchers, and entire boxes of bullets. After a harvest like that, the owner probably won't be seeing his garden again for another 5 to 7 years. When a metal detector starts going crazy in the woods, don't be so quick to celebrate. Instead of treasure, one man found a Granatenwerfer bomb that was more than 100 years old. It looks like the South China Sea has its own Bermuda Triangle. At a depth of 1,500 meters, archaeologists found 2 merchant ships that sank more than 500 years ago. Nearly 1,000 relics were brought up from the seabed, including beautifully preserved porcelain, ancient coins, and even deer antlers. The strangest part is that both ships sank in almost the exact same spot. Coincidence? It's no surprise when a farmer has to call in the sappers in Gapden, France. After all, 60 million shells were fired off here during World War I, and people are still digging them up today. This 88-year-old grandfather's relatives had no idea he had kept a 300-year-old Bible his entire life. Makes you wonder how much we really know about the people closest to us. Check this out. A pirate cannon from 1715 was raised from the bottom of the sea. Maybe the Black Pearl really is out there somewhere. You thought the Ford Anglia from Harry Potter was the only vehicle living in the forest? Well, then explain this 1989 motorcycle in the middle of a thicket. I wonder if this one ran away from its owner too. They say Irish leprechauns hide pots of gold, but this time they seem to have dropped something a little bigger. A Hawker Hunter F-51 jet fighter. Wars continue echoing long after they end. That's why more than 2,000 tons of ammunition are still being discovered and diffused in Germany every year. Can an old military base be a tourist attraction? Well, in Lisbon, graffiti artists have turned abandoned cannons into works of art. Now, visitors come here for scavenger hunts to find all of Lisbon's painted cannons. It's a brilliant idea. What you're looking at right now is a Titan I intercontinental ballistic missile from the 1960s. The fact that it's heading to a museum instead of being used for its original purpose is good news for all of us. What weighs 30 tons but can disappear without a trace for decades? A T-34 tank. This one sank into the swamp sometime in the 1940s and was only recently discovered. On the island of Rhodes, people dream of finding traces of one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, the Colossus of Rhodes. But this time, the tide uncovered the turret of a tank that once defended the island. Modern treasure hunters have traded in their ancient maps for Google Earth. These people first spotted some mysterious ruins and then spent several hours searching the mountains with a metal detector and a 3D scanner. When the detector led them to a massive stone, they uncovered a collection of jewelry and tableware that had been hidden beneath it for more than 800 years. It turns out treasure hunting isn't just about luck. Preparation matters too. Time can do some incredible things. It can even transform one of the most fearsome weapons of its era into a strange roadside discovery for an unsuspecting tourist. Sometimes, before you can find something, you have to get lost first. That's exactly what happened to these guys when they stumbled across a Bren carrier hidden deep in the undergrowth. Sometimes the ocean's like a giant lost and found. This time, it returned a BQM-74 drone that had been used during naval exercises. This Saber's last day of active service was roughly 700 years ago. Now, it's finally seeing daylight again and getting a new home in a museum. workers in Ukraine discovered an antique German safe secured with 3 combination locks. Its contents turned out to be more valuable than gold, documents capable of telling a story nearly a century old. The first rule of archaeology is patience. Sometimes years of searching lead nowhere, and then a single discovery can change everything. In this case, what looked like an ordinary stone turned out to be hiding an entire cache of ancient treasure. This British Valentine tank arrived almost 80 years late. During the advance toward Berlin in the winter of 1945, it broke through the ice and sank. Now, it has finally been pulled from the swamp where it had been waiting for its second appearance. Who said installing new utilities is nothing but an expense? While laying pipes, workers discovered 600 kilograms of ancient Roman coins. Now that's some serious cash back. The Titanic wasn't the only vessel to become a legend after going down. This Douglas DC-3 made its final landing on an Icelandic beach in 1973. Unlike the Titanic, however, everyone on board survived. The plane was never removed, and over time, it became one of Iceland's most famous landmarks. A bullet? A dinosaur tooth? Not even close. This is a fossilized belemnite, an ancient squid-like creature that lived millions of years before humans ever appeared. A flood can do more than wash property away. Sometimes it can also deliver a 7-meter fragment of a space rocket, which is exactly what happened to the residents of this Siberian village. When a grandfather told his grandson he was giving him a car, the grandson probably wasn't expecting a 1916 Studebaker. But you have to admit, that's way more interesting than an ordinary Buick or pickup truck. This must have seemed like the perfect place to hide trucks stolen 50 years ago. The criminals covered their tracks so well that even they apparently couldn't find the vehicles again themselves. Now, the forest is slowly swallowing them whole. A grandfather once drove his Citroen DS21 Palace into the garage and said, "I'll get to it later." But later didn't come for another 20 years. At first, the car looked like a hopeless pile of scrap metal, but then the real magic of restoration began. How does a 15-ton steam locomotive boiler end up in a place with no tracks or train station anywhere nearby? If you have a better explanation than aliens, let us know in the comments. It almost looks like a giant game of checkers, except instead of game pieces, sappers are dealing with 375 anti-tank mines that a farmer accidentally discovered in his field. Sometimes you find a set of lost keys in a garage. Other times you find a forgotten fighter jet. This MiG-21 has been sitting here untouched for decades. How does something like this even happen? A construction site suddenly became an archaeological dig when workers uncovered a World War II bunker. Gas masks and personal belongings were still preserved inside. Hopefully, this shelter managed to save more than one life. Here in the Czech Republic, some of aviation's most decorated veterans have gathered in one place. And these aren't retired pilots, but dozens of abandoned Soviet helicopters. Apparently, finding a UFO is a lot easier than most people think. This one's been sitting beside a Nevada highway for years, right along the road to the legendary Area 51. Imagine finding 2.6 kilograms of gold worth $240,000. This Australian's first reaction was, "My wife will be happy." If he's not a walking green flag, then I don't know what is. This jet-powered Lockheed T-33 once reached speeds of around 970 kilometers an hour. Now, its only route takes it from rain to fog in the middle of the British moors. Sometimes, a metal detector pays for itself faster than a lottery ticket. One lucky treasure hunter in Australia uncovered a 540-gram gold nugget. After a find like that, metal detecting suddenly doesn't seem like such a waste of time, does it? There's always something interesting to discover at your grandparents' place, but a real helicopter parked right next to the tractor is going to impress a lot more than just the grandchildren. Have you ever seen an economy-class flying saucer? Neither have I. What you're looking at is actually a rescue capsule from an oil rig that graffiti artists transformed into a work of art. The Kalakala ferry seems to have had 9 lives. It survived a fire, became America's most futuristic ferry, served as a floating fish processing plant in Alaska, and eventually ended up as a rusting giant beside the dock. Although, perhaps someone will still pay for repairs and give this vessel one more eventful chapter. Sometimes, a time capsule looks suspiciously like an aerial bomb. That's exactly what the owners of a legendary New York nightclub buried in 1985. When construction workers uncovered it 33 years later, police cordoned off the entire street. Thankfully, it contained nothing more dangerous than memories from the club's most colorful era. These tourists set out for a mountain hike and ended up walking straight into history. Hidden in the forest, they accidentally discovered the engine of an F-4U Corsair fighter that had been lying there for decades. It turns out the largest ship graveyard in the Mediterranean had been hiding right under everyone's noses. 58 sunken vessels ranging from the days of ancient Greece to the 20th century were discovered near a small Greek archipelago. Researchers also recovered 300 ancient artifacts from the seabed. For archaeologists, it was like opening a time capsule that the sea had kept sealed for more than 2,000 years. Every DC fan dreams of finding the first Batman comic from 1939. One collector in Pittsburgh actually did, and the rare issue earned him an incredible $1.5 million. Someone apparently tried to clear a clogged garbage chute using a grenade. Thankfully, an inspection revealed that it was only a training dummy and not a live explosive. Researchers were searching the floor of the Baltic Sea for 20th century shipwrecks when they accidentally discovered a 400-year-old Dutch merchant vessel. Its cargo and provisions were still remarkably intact, almost as if the crew had left only yesterday. For archaeologists, it was an unbelievable stroke of luck. During a family walk, a 13-year-old girl made the kind of scientific discovery most paleontologists dream about. She noticed a strange rock on the riverbed that turned out to be the shell of a 32-million-year-old sea turtle. Scientists later determined that it belonged to an entirely new species that had never been documented before. It turns out that money really can grow in the ground. A pair of pensioners discovered 90 silver coins from the 14th and 15th centuries in their garden and then donated the entire treasure to a museum. Apparently, they believed the discovery was worth more when everyone could enjoy it. Explorers are constantly searching the sea for sunken ships, but this one had been lying quietly beneath their feet for more than 200 years. After a hurricane washed away part of a Florida beach, the remains of a wooden merchant vessel more than 25 meters long appeared beneath the sand. Scientists were able to collect some wood samples in hopes of learning where the ship was built and how it ended up there. Even when people say the forest is full of surprises, this isn't usually what they have in mind. This may be one of the strangest safes ever discovered. It spent more than 100 years at the bottom of a river, so when it was finally pulled out, everyone expected treasure. Instead, it contained a bottle and a mysterious stone that may have been a sample from a gold mine. Now, the real mystery is the safe itself. Why would someone lock away an ordinary stone and then throw it into a river? Tourists had come to Barcelona looking to relax, but instead ended up sweating bullets when they happened upon a 90-year-old bomb. Experts quickly took care of the situation, and everyone was soon free to get back to their siestas. Who would have expected a 92-year-old Polish mason to turn out to be a real-life Thomas Crown? Police discovered 300 paintings inside his old barn, including works dating from the 16th through the 18th centuries, and even several pieces believed to have been lost. As for where he got them, the mysterious retiree isn't saying. A safe containing classified military documents hidden since 1942 was discovered in Russia. The papers may help historians reconstruct forgotten battles and locate the burial sites of missing soldiers. After all, sometimes information is more valuable than any treasure. The last thing you would expect to see inside an old barn is a car dealership from the past, but that's exactly what this place looks like, with 20 rare vehicles still sitting inside. Do you think any of them are worth restoring? Cars aren't the only vehicles that get abandoned in parking lots. These excavators were brought here by water, but the project ran out of money before it could be completed. Now, they've been left beside the ocean for the rust to slowly take over. You have to wonder, what would have caused someone to abandon an entire BMW collection like this? A New Year's wish unexpectedly came true for these Christmas decorations. After spending more than 50 years in the attic of an abandoned house, they're finally gonna hang on a tree again. This guy thought his metal detector had led him to a rusty boulder. Then he realized the entire thing was made of old coins. This abandoned building in France may be haunted by more ghosts than a castle. Over its 100-year history, it served first as a sanatorium and later as a concentration camp. These days, this Italian church is visited not by worshippers, but by urban explorers. Although, in its abandoned state, it might be even more atmospheric, don't you think? When this bus pulled in, it had no idea this would be its final stop. It almost looks like it's still waiting for children to come back and head off to school. Deep in the forests of France, you can accidentally stumble straight into history, and this time, that isn't just a figure of speech. The loneliest traffic lights in the world may be standing in Fukushima. They still work perfectly, even though there hasn't been a soul around since the nuclear disaster. Divers off the coast of Cornwall were searching for rare fish when they accidentally discovered an ancient cannon that had been resting on the seabed for several centuries. In 1715, the ocean borrowed 1,000 silver coins and a collection of gold artifacts from a Spanish ship. It returned them 300 years later with plenty of interest, since the treasure is now worth around $400 million. This man is definitely going to have something special to celebrate once his renovation is done. Beneath the floorboards, he discovered a nearly 100-year-old bottle of whiskey that had been waiting all this time for someone to finally open it. Some criminals thought a river would hide all the evidence forever. Spoiler, it didn't. Police still managed to recover all 5 rifles from the bottom. Some people collect refrigerator magnets, others collect motorcycles. This man has around 3,000 vehicles, including vintage Harleys, rare Camaros, and machines most people have probably never even heard of. He could open one of the largest private museums in the world right in his backyard, but he says he prefers everything exactly as it is. It looks like space debris isn't just a problem for astronauts anymore. A 2-meter-long, 500-kilogram rocket fragment fell from the sky in Kenya and crashed right next to several homes. Miraculously, no one was hurt. Apparently, it's time for a little spring cleaning in orbit, too. Workers entered this mine looking for diamonds and ended up finding gold instead. That's how a 500-year-old Portuguese treasure ship was uncovered in Namibia. You have to admit, that's a pretty profitable trade. The longest train stop in history may have begun in Maine back in 1933. That's how long these locomotives have been sitting beside the shores of Eagle Lake. When you lose something for 69 years, you don't expect it to ever come back. But a purse belonging to a student from 1957 was discovered inside a school wall, still containing lipstick, chewing gum, and a wallet. Its owner had already passed away, but this small reminder of her younger years deeply touched the entire family. This man's childhood home was about to be demolished when he suddenly remembered burying a time capsule in the yard back in 1976. And amazingly, they found it. Inside were comics, newspapers, toys, and even a note he had written to his future self. No regular mail delivery could ever compete with a package sent directly from the past. Why are dozens of military vehicles rusting away in a Belgian forest? Well, according to local legend, American soldiers abandoned them because shipping everything back home would have been too expensive. Today, their grandchildren come here to see what has become a strange tourist attraction. This Su-15 fighter made its final landing not on an airfield, but on a pedestal in Georgia. Colonel Amarin Kikabidze gave the aircraft a second life as a monument. This ship graveyard in Canada is where old ferries, tugboats, and fishing vessels come to spend their final years. But some of them have found an unexpected second life on television, appearing in shows like Supernatural and The X-Files. These divers entered the water to explore a coral reef, but they certainly weren't expecting to find a military fighter jet. The aircraft had been resting on the ocean floor for decades and now looks more like part of an underwater museum than a machine built for combat. Time seems to have stopped in Porto Velho, Brazil. When the railway shut down during the 1970s, 9 locomotives were left behind. Today, they're protected as part of the region's historical heritage. For 66 years, the families of missing soldiers had no idea where their loved ones had been buried. Now, at the former Arrowhead battlefield, archaeologists are uncovering bone fragments belonging to more than 300 soldiers, along with 23,000 personal items and thousands of rounds of ammunition. DNA testing is helping identify the fallen so they can finally be returned to their families and given a proper burial. Indiana Jones wasn't the only one searching for lost cities. Egyptian archaeologists uncovered entire neighborhoods from a 3,000-year-old settlement. Houses, bakeries, and streets were preserved so well that it looked as though time had simply stopped. Just imagine what they must have felt when the city first began emerging from the ground. The rain decided to deliver one final gift from Grandma. After a heavy downpour, an old box started surfacing in the yard, and inside was a collection of gold jewelry. Where else but Siberia would you have a real chance of digging up a mammoth? Archaeologists discovered the nearly complete skeleton of an adult woolly mammoth in a lake preserved for over 10,000 years. Even more remarkably, some of its bones still contain soft tissue, which is extremely rare in a specimen this old. Scientists hope this mammoth will help reveal even more secrets from the Ice Age. And this is just a small fraction of the incredible things still hiding around the world. To see even more unbelievable discoveries, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. See you next time.